Hi guys, my name is Abhishek Singh and you're watching another episode of Weekends with Us. So this is an episode where Debo is busy. So while we talk about a lot of these contents together, we also have our individual interests, hobbies. So while I was watching this sci-fi series, she was pursuing some of her art forms and hobbies that she does on weekend. So we'll be introducing some new content on the channel. Like for example, she is pursuing resin art. There'll be certain videos that we'll be posting here, and some of you who are interested in art, do tune in, do watch the videos, and do let us know how you like the content. So the series that we are talking about today is Three Body Problem. It's the latest series on Netflix, which is created by David Benioff, DB Voice, and Alexander Wu, right? And this is based on a award-winning Chinese novel, right? The Three Body Problem by Liu Cixin. Now, I hope the name was correct, but that is how it's written on the Wikipedia, right? So now this novel I haven't read, so I don't have any reference of the book, but I did watch this series, and to be honest, I loved it. After a long time, I watched a proper hardcore sci-fi series, which doesn't distract from the topic which is there on hand. A lot of times we have these series which have really good ideas, but they get distracted by the romance or some message they want to convey. The social messages, no, it's very hardcore science fiction series which is created by them. Now, just a little thing about these two guys, David Benioff and DB Wise. You know these names because they have also written and produced Game of Thrones. These guys work best when there is a good source material. I'm assuming the novels are good, is what I've heard. So here they do a great job. I mean, in Game of Thrones, if you see the first 4-5 seasons were really good, it got derailed later because there were no novels to reference to. Here we have a source material, and they did, I think, a great job of putting that on screen because it's not easy. To be honest, these concepts, because there is physics, there's particle physics, there are aliens involved, there is space technology, there is deep fake, VR. So many things are happening in this series that you really have to be a science fiction fan to truly appreciate it. I'm not saying the masses cannot watch it, but if you are a science fiction fan, this series will reward you with more and more information about how this story pans out. Now, talking about the name itself, the name is Three Body Problem. Now, where does it come from? So, for example, in school we have physics as one of the subjects. In physics, we do learn about two body problems. All right. So, for example, there's Newton's laws, there is gravitational pull, the formulas related to how gravity works. Now, let's say there are two objects, let's say Earth and Moon. What will be the gravitational force between these two objects? So, typically, we are told that treat these objects as point particles and calculate with a certain formula what will be the gravitational pull between these two. There could also be a third object. Now that is where things get very complicated. It's easy to analyze these problems when there are only two masses. When there's a third body involved, that is when it gets really complicated. In physics, there is no way to actually find out the interrelation, the forces acting between these three bodies. That is what the three body problem is, and that is what is referenced heavily in the first few episodes of this series. While the name is Three Body Problem, eventually you will learn that is not the point of it. Of course, there is a larger story at play, and it works on a very large level without really blowing up the budget or making it too CGI heavy, or there are a lot of battles happening. No, not really. It is a contained story, and I think they do a good job still implicating what is to come later in future. So in this story actually spans across two timelines. So around 1970, there is a story which is happening in China with a girl whose name is Ye Wenji, and she actually witnesses this rebellion taking place and her father getting brutally killed in that rebellion. I mean, basically what is happening is the rebellion is killing any scientist who is teaching traditional science or physics to the people. And this is what actually shapes her up as a person. Eventually she joins military. She gets to know that there is a larger study happening where the people are trying to contact aliens, right? I mean, if you have heard this called Fermi's paradox. The Fermi's paradox is, if there are so many galaxies, so many planets, so many solar systems. Why is it that we never came across an intelligent life form, right? So that is the paradox, which is called Fermi's paradox. So apparently, Chinese government in this story in 1970s is doing experiments, and she gets to join that experiment. Something happens there, which affects the story today. So in today's timeline, then there are a group of scientists. Apparently, what is happening in today's timeline is the particle accelerators are acting crazy. I mean, whatever you would expect out of these experiments in particle accelerators, the results are going completely haywire, and these guys are not able to really figure out what is really happening with them. Some of the scientists are also committing suicides, right? So a lot of these scientists are killing themselves, and what happens is, first the government gets involved. They are trying to figure out why these scientists are killing themselves. There is a central cast, the characters which are there, these good-looking group of scientists, okay, who are also apparently dating each other. They are the main characters of this story. So they get interwoven into this investigation which is happening with respect to what is happening with these suicides. Why is really these worldwide physics is not working as it was supposed to? And then there is also a group of people who are apparently okay, so I'll just name it, these are aliens. All right, so basically aliens are coming, and there's a group of people who actually treats them as gods, like they are the superior beings who will come and save them. And they are the third group which are really at play. Among the scientists in particular, I think there are certain characters who stood out the most for me. So one was Jin Cheng, who has the most important role in this entire series. She is the center of the story, and she is the one who plays a key role in driving this plot forward. Then there is Will Downing, who has a good role, because initially I was like, okay, so it's just a character who is having cancer and probably will die in the series, but the way the story shapes up really brings an emotional angle to it, which you are not anticipating. He is presented with a very tough choice in the end, not just him, but the other people also. With respect to him, that choice that has to be made, and that was something that I was not expecting, right? So I think they really, drove that home. And thirdly, Ye Wenji, right? I mean, so we did talk about how in the younger days, what she experienced, the death of her father, and her joining military is kind of what shapes up what is happening right now. But even in the older age, there are certain realizations that hit her during the series, and that was very interesting to see, right? I mean, basically her realization that probably things that have happened were not supposed to happen, what she could have done better to avoid it. The shade in the character, the arc through which she goes through in this story, amazing. So I mean, these were like some of the standout roles which I saw in this series, and really appreciate them for their acting. Now, some of these scientists are actually receiving this VR headset with that you see in the trailer. I mean, it's a very advanced technology, virtual reality headset that they are receiving from somewhere. And when they put it on, they are pulled into this virtual world where they are supposed to test their intellect. They are tested as to how good they are at solving this massive problem about saving a civilization. That is what is happening in this virtual world, and that is something that leads to the later part of the story where they get involved with these two groups that I talked about. One is the government, one is the fanatics, the religious fanatics who are worshipping the aliens. Now there is a large part of cast which is also coming from Game of Thrones. You will see some returning characters. So for example, there is Liam Cunningham. He plays the character of Thomas Wade. He's from the side of government who is actually investigating and leading this operation against the aliens. There is Jonathan Pryce as Mike Evans. He also comes from Game of Thrones. He's also there. And then there's a group of scientists who do a good job, I feel. I mean, they are convincing as scientists. I mean, they don't seem like just good-looking people who are just speaking scientific mumbo-jumbo to sound like scientists. So they do a good job of portraying their struggles with coming to terms with this massive, fight that is to take place in future. So this series is really good in portraying that how a thing that is not even happening now, it's supposed to happen 400 years in future, and yet the fight is starting today. The politics, the games are starting today. The aliens who are in light years away, who are not here for a very, very long time, from there they are playing games. They are making sure that when they arrive, they don't experience any kind of trouble. While the government, also knowing that they will not be alive when these guys will come out to Earth, still they are preparing for it. They are making sure that we start the innovations today which will lead to the aliens defeat in future. So it's a very interesting play of minds which is happening in this series. Plot wise, I think I couldn't find many plot holes. I think 90-95% of the story is very tight, right? You don't really feel that there's a plot hole or things which are not explained. I haven't read the book, so I can't say that the story is 100% faithful. Like as to as it does it really deviate from it or not? I don't know. I am my just point of reference is this Netflix series. CGI, it's a bit off. All right, so at certain places you can see that maybe the budget is not so much, or maybe the rendering is not done to the best of what is possible, because you have seen these guys working with Game of Thrones. You have seen the level of CGI that they can pull off. Here the CGI was a little bit iffy. Could be the budget, I don't know. Third is the acting. It was good throughout, no problem there at all. Now, the only criticisms, if I have to say, if I have some criticisms about this story, number one, at certain point in time, there is a big thing happens that in the story. All right, so aliens are involved, and apparently at some point, the entire sky, all the stars in the sky, they start, glittering, or rather shining, winking as it's called in the story. This one scientist, Saul Durant, all right, who is played by Joanne, he realizes, or he rather concludes, that it's a deep fake. And like the entire world saw it. His logic is the telescopes did not see it, we saw it, hence it's a deep fake. And like there is no way you can come to that realization. Okay, what you're saying is that all the equipment, the telescopes and everything are more reliable than your own eyes. In later part of the story, it is explained, but the fact that he came to that conclusion that fast is something that I was like, no, I'm sorry. I can't take that seriously right now in this particular episode. The concepts do get a little bit too technical, especially when they are into this virtual world. At some point in time, they introduce, I'm not going to spoil a lot, but they introduce this concept of human computer. You will see when it comes to it, I was not able to comprehend really. All right. I mean, basically the point of that story was there are millions of people who are standing in a certain number of rows. Each is holding a certain flag, white color or black color. Apparently that represents 0 or 1. And the way they will wave it right or left will signify 0 or 1, just in the way computer works with 0 and 1. And that is a human computer. I mean, what is the input? How do them raising it here and there will result in an output? I have no clue. So anyway, that was something which was, I'm not able to understand. Maybe in the novel it's explained better, or maybe it's a virtual world. You are supposed to take it for what it is. But that was a little off for me. And also there are a lot of plot holes because these aliens are apparently so powerful, right? I mean, they can do wonders. They have this technology where they can see in multiple dimensions. They are capable of space travel. They are traveling at a very fast speed towards Earth. While they are making things happen on Earth. And then later you realize, why are they not doing more to stop these people, right? At certain point in time, they come to threaten the leader of the government, who is basically Thomas Wade. They come and threaten him. And I'm like, you could have done this, the threatening part, and what you're doing now, several episodes earlier when they were plotting against you. So sometimes there's a little bit of plot hole. Why are aliens not doing enough to stop them? But anyway, point is, it's a really good series. Really great to watch as a sci-fi fan. If you really let go of some of these problems, I think the story rewards you with more and more, information and sci-fi aspects of it. So go and watch it. There is one more part to it which I wanted to add, is I did find some similarities with another property, and a very different property which I am experiencing right now. So there is a game called Dead Space. Now, interestingly, these novels were apparently written around 2006 or 2008. The Dead Space game came around 2008. All right. And if you see, there are certain parallels, and it's a great game, by the way. The remake is out. I happen to play it right now on my PS5, even though it came last year, because the rebate, okay, not much money. So I do wait for when the games get a certain discount to download them and play them. So I played it right now, and there are a lot of similarities. Okay. So the original Dead Space came around 2008 and they made a remake now. And what is there is an unknown entity, an alien entity which wants to conquer other species. The concept of Fermi's paradox is mentioned in that game, right? Why is it that you don't really experience communication from other intelligent aliens? The fact that there is a Earth government who is trying to prevent these aliens from taking over, and then there are religious fanatics who are really, thinks of these aliens or this entity as gods, and they think that this will help them in surviving what is coming next. So there are a lot of similarities with this game, and while ultimately it's a horror game, it's not a sci-fi only, it's a sci-fi horror game. But yeah, there are a lot of similarities, so I thought I'll just bring that up. So guys, that was my review for Three Body Problem. I hope you liked the video, and like, share and subscribe to the channel, and that's about it.
Hey, I do have a question.
Oh, you have a question. You want to be here in this video as well.
Yeah, it's a weekends with us, and even though I haven't been part of this video,
Right.
but I have few questions
Sure.
for you.
Please tell me.
So I know that you love these kind of movies a lot.
Yeah.
So if you have to state one particular reason why anybody should be watching this movie, that would be what, according to you?
Right. Because I think this actually takes sci-fi, which is very complex and complicated, really tries to make it for the mainstream audience where they can understand it, right? I mean, I talked about two-body problem, three-body problem, physics, astrophysics, tons of things, whatever it is. But point is, you will be able to understand it, and it does makes you think a lot. Like there are audience for Godzilla and King Kong as well, right? I mean, we were talking about in the last review. Please go watch it if you want to. So there are audiences for that who believe that movies are supposed to be, you keep your brain on the side, go watch it, enjoy and come back. I think these kind of movies do reward you the more you think about it. And even once the series is done, even then you'll keep thinking about it. So these kind of movies should be rewarded because they put a lot of thought to it. They want audiences to not just enjoy, but to learn something new, right? And go back and think about more of these stuff. A lot of the innovations today, which we see, came from sci-fi movies. Who knows, whatever they're talking about today could be a thing we could see in 30, 40 years from now. So
I'm not reading you right away.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So what would be the one reason why people should not be watching this movie? Do you really have a reason, or are you saying that everybody should be watching?
No. So it is not for everyone. Honestly, see, if you want if somebody wants instant gratification, it is not that kind of series. It does take its time to set the characters, set the premise of the movie, and really story to come to a place where it starts moving very quickly. So it is a slow burn in the beginning. People might lose interest, to be honest. So it does take its time. Yeah. So for the mass audience, not for everyone, honestly. I mean, you might lose interest in the beginning. Once they start explaining the whole this scientific mumbo jumbo, you will further lose interest in it. And by the time it actually gets interesting, because people might not have paid attention to what has happened in the past, the characters, the story, the concepts, you will not really love it. So not for everybody.
Now I free you from my set of questions.
Okay.
Do like, share and
Subscribe. Yeah, and we'll see you in the next video together. Bye.